When Tamar saw Judah leading a donkey, burdened with sacks and a fine rug, she took her hoe and ran to the farthest border of her father's land. Sick with dread, she worked with her back to the house, hoping he would pass by and seek some other girl for his son. When her nurse called her, Tamar pretended not to hear and hacked harder at the earth with her hoe. Tears blinded her. "Tamar!" Axa puffed as she reached her. "Didn't you see Judah? You must return to the house with me now. Your mother's about to send your brothers after you, and they'll not take kindly to your delay." Axa grimaced. "Don't look at me like that, child. This isn't of my doing. Would you prefer a marriage with one of those Ishmaelite traders on his way to Egypt? You've heard about Judah's son just as I have." "I've heard." She held out her hand, and Tamar reluctantly relinquished the hoe. "Perhaps it will not be as bad as you think." But Tamar saw in her nurse's eyes that Axa had her own grave doubts. Tamar's mother met them and grabbed Tamar by the arm. "If I had time, I would beat you for running off." She pulled Tamar inside the house and into the women's quarters. No sooner was Tamar through the doorway than her sisters laid hands upon her and tugged at her clothing. Tamar gasped in pain as one yanked the cover carelessly from her head, pulling her hair as well. "Stop it!" She raised her hands to ward them off, but her mother stepped in. "Stand still, Tamar. Since it took Axa so long to fetch you, we must hurry." The girls were all talking at once, excited, eager. "Mother let me go just as I am." "Straight from the fields? You will not. You will be presented in the finest we have. Judah has brought gifts with him, and don't you dare shame us with tears, Tamar." Swallowing convulsively, Tamar fought for self-control. She had no choice but to submit to her mother and sister's ministrations. They were using the best garments and perfume for her appearance before Judah, the Hebrew. The man had 3 sons. If she pleased him, it would be the firstborn, who would become her husband. Last harvest, when Judah and his sons had brought their flocks to graze in the harvested fields, her father had commanded her to work nearby. She knew what he hoped to accomplish. Now it seemed he had. "Mother, please, I need another year or 2 before I'm ready to enter a household of my own. Your father decides when you're old enough." Her mother wouldn't look her in the eyes. "It's not your right to question his judgment." Tamar's sisters chattered like magpies, making her want to scream. Her mother clapped her hands. "Enough! Help me get Tamar ready." Clenching her jaw, Tamar closed her eyes and decided she must resign herself to her fate. She had known that one day she would marry. She had also known her father would choose her husband. Her one solace was the 10-month betrothal period. At least she would have time to prepare her mind and heart for the life looming before her. Axa touched her shoulder. "Try to relax." She untied Tamar's hair and began to brush it with long, firm strokes. "Think soothing thoughts, dear one." She felt like an animal her father was preparing for sale. Wasn't she? Anger and despair filled her. Why did life have to be so cruel and unfair? "Petra, bring the scented oil and rub her skin with it. She mustn't smell like a field slave." "Better if she smelled of sheep and goats," Axa said. "The Hebrew would like that." The girls laughed in spite of their mother's reprimand. "You're not making things better, Axa. Now hush." Tamar grasped her mother's skirt. "Please, Mother, couldn't you speak to Father for my sake? This boy is evil." Tears came in a rush before she could stop them. "Please, I don't want to marry her."